I suppose we should start with, well, I'm curious, the film has come out in Mexico already, right? So what's the reception? I mean, like, what's going on?
So yeah, it was released last Thursday in Mexico, the day before we opened in New York. I was actually down there 2 weeks ago for the first time since filming. It was extraordinarily emotional for me to be there, doing press and doing a few screenings. To sit with the Mexican audience and watch this movie was incredible. And the press reaction was amazing. And I think hopefully it's generating a conversation, and that's the goal.
Kind of the greatest aspiration I think you can imagine for a film is to have it be the igniter for a conversation and keep that conversation going. And that's the beauty of this piece. You know, what's interesting is when I saw it, I immediately thought of the Peshmerga fighters, the Kurds who rose up to the best of their ability against ISIS. And obviously that's an ongoing situation. But we're so focused on ISIS, Syria, and Iraq, and obviously that's incredibly critical, but yet this is happening 150 miles south of our border. And there's very little focus on it. I mean, like, this movie, I think, is really anomalous in that way. So tell me what your thoughts are approaching it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we become obsessed with ISIS. We become obsessed with all these conflicts, all around the world, which are horrible and awful, and they should, be talked about. But there's a war that's happening in a country that we share so much history with, a country that's our neighbor, a war that we're connected to, a war that we're funding, a war that we're tied to. And I really, in making this film, I really wanted to sort of take this issue out of the headlines. There had been a lot of glorification of narco violence and narco wars. And I really wanted to see what happened to everyday people. And then the response of everyday people rising up to fight back. And then the result of everyday people fighting back. I originally thought that when I first stepped foot, at least in Mexico, that it was a very simple hero-villain story of guys in white shirts fighting against guys in black hats. And over time, the lines between good and evil became ever more blurry. And that blurriness fascinated me, that complexity fascinated me. I became almost obsessed with trying to sort of understand who these guys were, what was really happening. I originally thought I was going to do 1 or 2 shoots in Mexico, and that turned into 9 months. So here we are.
Yeah, that kind of blurred line between who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, I imagine, as you're shooting and having, in some cases, absolutely no idea. That's got to have been perhaps the most harrowing situation I can imagine from a cinematic standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the film, I could be on an aperitivo on audition in the back of a truck and next to guys, and I truly didn't know if they're the good guys or the bad guys, or the bad guys that were the good guys or the good guys that were the bad guys. The lines were just so blurry. And I really wanted to sort of revel in that complexity. I don't want to put, the situation is so complex for people living down there. And I didn't want to put a nice, neat little bow around who these guys were or what was happening.
Speaking of who these guys are, I mean, you opened with Naylor and then to Dr. Morales, and, they're both vigilantes. Yeah, they're both extremely different, but the idea of vigilantism, however you want to call it, is such a pejorative concept today. How, yet, the doctor so beautifully puts it, what do? You wait to die, or you defend yourself. I mean, I can't even imagine if I was faced with that kind of calculus. On the other hand, Naylor, it seems more like
Well,
Sorry.
no. I mean, in many ways, there's that character study that fascinated me. Is both
in distinctions. Yeah.
right, and both Naylor and the doctor are 55 years old, or they were 55 years old. They both believe that the government failed them. They both, quote unquote, took the law into their own hands to fight for what they believe in. But the circumstances are quite different, obviously. In Mexico, 80,000 plus people killed since 2007. 20,000 plus people disappeared, gone in 2007. So that violence is visceral, it's real. Whereas in Arizona, that fight, even though when you're on the Arizona border, you do feel, you're on U.S. soil, but you do feel like you're sort of in land that's been almost ceded to the cartel. You look up the mountaintops and you see cartel scouts watching you. You can hear them talking on the radio. But, obviously the violence is not happening. There's not decapitated heads in southern Arizona. Yeah, it's much more of a fear that Mexican drug wars will seep its way across our borders.
Yeah. And Dr. Morales, so he is currently still in prison, and he does have diabetes, or is that, as far as you know?
No, he really has diabetes. So it's been just over a year since he's been in jail, and there's a rumor. It seems like there's been a lot of rumors over the year that he'd be getting out. It seems like this rumor is somewhat substantiated, and that he could be getting out any day now. So, but to this point, there's been no due process, no trial. His supporters, his family, who we maintain contact with, believe he's in jail to silence him. And when the government doesn't want to hear from you, keep him in jail.
Now, do you think this film coming out down there might be persuasive in some way?
There are rumors. I don't want to take credit, and there are rumors that the film being released in Mexico has put a lot of pressure on the Mexican government to release him. We'll see how that shapes out.
Now back to Naylor for a second. Has he seen the film?
So Naylor's seen the film. Some of his guys have seen the film. I think they believe that this is a truthful and honest portrait of who they are and what's happening. Obviously, the doctor's not been able to see the film. I would love for him to see it. Some of his family has seen it. I have a whole team sort of prepared to go show it to him as soon as possible when he gets out of jail.
But maybe you could see it in jail, do you think, or no?
I can't even talk to him in jail.
Okay, that's right.
As the autodefense interrogating the guy in the back of the car says, this isn't the United States.
Right. Now talk to me a little bit about being a documentary filmmaker. Like there are kind of schools of thought where you have the talking heads that sort of I suppose contextualize what you're seeing, and then you've got that's a school of thought to a certain extent, and then you have the verite, and this is firmly in the camp of verite, which I absolutely love. But tell me what your thoughts are. What's your orientation?
Yeah, from day one, I did not want to have talking heads. I don't want to have experts. I don't want to have government officials giving me BS statements. Although they tried. At one point, an attaché of the President Peña Nieto asked to have lunch with me, and we had lunch, and he said, this is the story you should be telling, and I was like, okay. Yeah. It was so clear that the room was bugged, and he was asking me like, what are you seeing out there on the front lines? And I was like, oh, everything's good.
I'm just ducking for my life.
Yeah. So that meeting sort of solidified my lack of desire to talk to anybody. I really wanted the story to be a personal story of sort of what motivates men and women to rise up in arms, and then the consequences of that, and through the eyes of the very people doing that. I don't want someone from New York City or from Mexico City, commenting on it. I wanted to live with these people. I embedded myself with these people. I'm not a war reporter. I've never been in situations like this before. But obviously the film led me to some intense places.
Well, on that note, let's open it up to the audience.
Call me Matt dealer. Trust is everything, I found them through a few articles that I read. I first started filming in Arizona based on this Rolling Stone article that I read by Damon Theodore. It was a fantastic article, a very cinematic article that drew me to that world. I met with him a bunch of times, and then he introduced me to Naylor. I filmed with Naylor for about 4 or 5 months. And then my father actually sent me an article about the auto defenses in Michoacan. And right when I read it, it was just like, I want to create this parallel narrative of vigilantism on both sides of the border. And I think it took a few weeks for my mom to start talking to my dad again after that. But I had no idea where the story was going. And the story evolved and morphed in this way that I never could have dreamed of or written or predicted. But in terms of trust, I think in terms of me being a gringo, they did call me El Gringo. A few people criticized me, here, and a few people in Mexico, who do you think you are, being a white guy going down there? And I don't think it matters the color of your skin. I don't think it matters, that I'm 32 years old. I don't think it matters that I'm from New York City. I don't think any of that stuff matters. I think the only thing that matters when making a film is being honest and truthful in how you relate to people. And I think that's what allowed me to gain the trust of the subject that I spent time with. I also spent a lot of time with them. I was there for 9 months. I didn't just sort of parachute in and parachute out. I lived with them. I slept on the ground with them. I got shot at with them. And they were fighting for what they believed in. They were dying for what they believed in. And I was, tagging along with them. So I think there's a level of respect that I was there risking my life to tell the story. In the same way they were risking their life to fight for what they believed in.
Can you speak Spanish?
Can I speak Spanish? Un poquito. My Spanish is pretty bad. I understand about 50 to 60% of what's being said. I'm now pretty good at getting to the bathroom and ordering food. I actually think that helped me, honestly. I think I was shooting a lot of the film based on emotions, based on reactions, based on what I felt intuitively, not necessarily based on dialogue. Which as a documentary shooter, you can often get caught up in sort of moving around based on what people are saying. And I think it was really interesting to sort of move around based on faces and emotions. And that scene in the back of the car where the guy's interrogating with the gun running up and down his head, you don't need to speak Spanish to understand what's happening there. So.
Okay, next question.
Matt, that was really riveting. And as somebody who knew you when we were kids, it was really tough to watch. I'll talk to you after. The question is, the film kind of depicted those lines getting blurred gradually. Did you feel a shift with the auto defenses, or were those lines kind of blurred from the beginning? Did you start to feel a shift in maybe corruption, or when they were getting involved as a cartel themselves?
Can I bring you the question? Okay. I think the way it unraveled for you was the same way unraveled for me. You know, that was actually my mantra every day in the edit room, was to sort of let's let the audience go on that same journey that I went on. All those moments where I felt like the rug was pulled out from under me and the story shifted or changed, or my views on a character shifted or changed. Let's let the audience go on that same emotional roller coaster that I went on. So I think the film is a pretty truthful depiction of how information was unveiled to me, and how the story sort of unraveled before me. But I think, you know, there's obviously several key points. First, you know, the doctor getting the plane crash, you know, was the beginning of the end. You know, when he was off on the sidelines and he appointed Papa Smurf, you know, that was the beginning of the end, in many ways. We didn't know it at the time, you know, and that homecoming scene when the doctor comes back, you know, everyone sort of, the scene after when he comes back and for the 1 year anniversary, and he's marching through the streets to talk with the pick. You really had a sense that, you know, maybe the doctor can pull it together. Maybe he can, like, you know, pull all these different people grabbing for power and sort of unify them again. But, you know, the oil tanker was already pointed the wrong way, so.
Did you sense that Papa Smurf was going to do what he did? I mean, did you have that just instinctual reaction to him?
I think, interrelated to Papa Smurf. I think, no, I mean, I think, you know, in many
It was a
ways,
surprise to you.
yeah, I mean, I think Papa Smurf, in my opinion, this is my opinion, you know, that he was sort of a weak leader, a well-intentioned weak leader who was co-opted by evil forces.
Yes.
I don't know, it's just my judgment, but a lot of the guys in Arizona seem kind of like rejects. They're wearing Cradle of Filth t-shirts and out of work at one point, former user. That's my personal judgment. They just seem like they were kind of bored and they want to play Army and hang out. But my thing that I'm interested in is, how did the Border Patrol think about what they were doing? How did the federal government, did they really, it seemed like they really liked what they were doing, but I don't know. I'm asking you, I have no idea.
People hear that?
Yeah, can everybody hear it? No? How did the Border Patrol, you know, how did they treat or how did they handle, or what was their interpretation of what NATO was doing and his game?
So Border Patrol publicly denied any sort of connection to vigilante groups, discouraged vigilante groups from you know, operating on the border. But the reality on the ground was much different. The reality on the ground was that they worked together. They shared information. When you talk to Border Patrol, in the same way that NATO says to me in the film, you know, eloquently, this is a David and Goliath battle, and we're David. Border Patrol says the same thing. You know, cartel is Goliath, and we're losing this battle, and we need all the help we can get. And you know, you really do feel like this. You know, it's not an accident that the film's called Cartel Land. I think that's actually one of the unifying things on both sides. Obviously, again, the violence and the suffering is much different in Mexico. But, you know, even in Arizona, you really do feel like you're on land that's controlled by the cartels, not on U.S. soil.
Obvious question. Are you a little bit concerned that this could fit into the narrative of somebody like Donald Trump?
Did people hear the question? Do I worry that this film will feed into the narrative of people like Donald Trump? I didn't consult Donald Trump before making this film. I did not consult with him as he ran for president. I did not consult with him as he made those remarks. So, I mean, I made the film that I wanted to make. I believe in the film that I made. I can't control what people out in the world speak on their own terms. It has nothing to do with me or my film.
Yes.
Hi, first of all, thank you. That was an extraordinary film. And I find documentary filmmaking extraordinarily fascinating because essentially you're not working on a script. The story is unfolding, which is essentially what you told us. You read an article and you follow that lead. How do you know when the story is over?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Can people hear the question?
I mean, in some ways, it kind of, the story unfolded and him in jail is probably, you know, your story is over, but yeah, I'm curious what your experience was.
The basic question for those who couldn't hear was, how do you know when to stop shooting a documentary, especially this documentary? I think that's one of the plaguing questions in making a documentary for a variety of reasons. Number one being money, because we're struggling to get by with the limited amount of money that we have to make these films, and so shoot days, travel to Mexico, all this stuff adds up, and so you're constantly sort of calculating, making sure you're there at the right time. I was very fortunate to have people supporting me in making this film. But every single day, every single night, every single waking hour, I was constantly sort of chasing the story. And as a director, it was so hard because it was such a moving target. The story kept changing, the characters kept changing. And that's what made it so difficult that's why it was so difficult to make. But I think when the meth cooker became the government employee, who was the auto defensa, who was the government employee, who was the meth cooker, who was the government, when I got that interview with him wearing the government uniform, I knew that was the story that sort of come full circle. And I threw my memory cards into a private part of my backpack and got on the next plane to the US, and that was the last time I was there. So it was when I got that interview, there's no question in my mind. That's how I'm ending the film. I have the film. Let's go make the film.
Excellent. Extraordinary. Let's take one more. Yes.
So, yeah, when we figured out that the Mexican government is behind all the defenses, so essentially it's the United States against the Mexican government who are funding these drug dealers. So basically the Mexican government, we're bringing drugs into our country and we're actually giving the Mexican government money to defend the border and to get it. Some of this makes sense.
I feel like you should answer the question. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I can say one thing, well, two things. One, I really didn't want to make a policy film. There's a lot of other films out there, great documentaries, great films, great articles, great news stories about, failed drug policy, about, how we're providing all the guns for these narco wars from the States, how, there's a lot of incredible investigative journalism that's gotten into covering this. I really wanted to not do that. I wanted to look into how this is affecting everyday people, and again, the response of everyday people from rising up. I think, one of the things that people always ask me is, where's the hope? Is this going to end? For some reason, I'm supposed to have those answers. But I do think that, basic supply and demand, as long as we're, consuming drugs up here, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. As long as we're consuming drugs up here, there'll be a supply for drugs in Mexico and South America. And with that will come violence, with that will come disappearances, with that will come suffering. And I don't see that violence or that suffering or that cycle stopping. I'm an optimistic person. I believe in the goodness of humanity, but unfortunately I think that's the reality. I do find hope in one thing though, in that, I think it's really important to remember that this film, this movement, the auto defense movement, started because there's an absolute failure of government institutions. That these people in Michoacan had no one to turn to. They lived in a lawless society, in many ways a failed state. And so they turned to themselves to protect themselves. And they spoke out. They spoke out against the horrors of what the cartels were doing. And right as we were finishing the film, right as we submitted to Sundance, 43 students were killed in Guerrero, the state just south of Michoacan. They were kidnapped by the police, they were handed over to the cartel, and they were incinerated, burned to ashes. And that provoked a national outcry, it provoked an international outcry. And it really showed what we see in this film, the blurry lines between cartel and government. And what it also did was it provoked hundreds of thousands of people marching through the streets of Mexico City and saying that, we're not going to take this. We're going to speak out against it. Whether that results in change, I don't know, but I do find hope that people are out there speaking out and talking about this. And I hope that this film can help contribute to that. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you to Kathryn for doing this with me and for supporting this film. And also, one last thing is that these films, the only way documentaries, we have no marketing budget. The only way these films work is if you tell your friends. So if you tweet, if you Facebook. Even if you hate the film, just tell people about it. So thank you guys again for coming.
Thank you very, very much.